And it is hot. And it is a Thursday morning, July 21st, 2022. Good morning, people of Earth. I am your loyal, humble dog. Feeling a little tired, feeling a little clammy, sweaty. And those are my complaints for today. What are your complaints for today? Actually, I'm not really complaining. I love the heat, as I say a lot during this time. I got to remind myself. I live for this time of year. I love the summer. Sitting still is not. Sitting still in a hot room is not the best thing you can do in summer. Spent a lot of time outdoors yesterday digging it. Oh, by the way, I have no guest co-host today. My guest is somebody who has been scheduled before and didn't show up then. Uh, I'm thinking he's going to show up today because he has requested a reschedule and came by and actually showed me his plane ticket and gave with the excuse that he didn't make it last time. Whatever. I do think he will be here today. The problem is I don't know who he is. Oh, that's an evil laugh, isn't it? Oh my, Dr. Evil. Um, his Facebook page has him listed as Peters Parkers. Almost every show I've seen him on, he's listed simply as Paul P. So I don't even know who he is. I'm not sure he knows who he is. Funny guy. His Facebook page has clips of some of his stand-up performance, um, and some skits that he's performed and written himself. Now, um, I know he's been in the game for quite a while, because I'm looking back through his history, but I don't. Again, you if you think his name is Paul P, which I'm Paul P. If I Google that, I'm going to get Paul Provenza as my top. Paul P comedian Paul Provenza, my top search result on that. I don't find a web page on him anywhere, but I've seen him doing residencies at places like um, yeah, I'm drawing a blank now. Caroline's in New York, and the Brooklyn Comedy Club, and Broadway Comedy Club, and he's in Indianapolis on the 13th of August at a place called Frank Fountain Square with Mike Stricker from Chicago, and he's listed there as Paul P. But again, I don't find anything about him online. I mean, because if you're gonna Google Paul P. or Peters Parkers, which he's listed as on Peters Parkers on Facebook, um, nothing comes up. But I know that I see him going back about 8 years now doing stand up, maybe longer than that. So it should be an interesting conversation. Anyway, my guest co-host today was supposed to be a guy named Fat J. I hate calling him Fat J, but I don't know him by any other name. That's what he goes by, but he's not here because he's in Chicago doing some shows, mix up. So, guest co-host, guests, it's one after another. I mean, the percentage is still small, but it seems like too many people leave me hanging. I feel jilted. Anyway, so I'm going solo here today. If anybody is, yeah, I thought about it. Good morning, Kevin. You're the only one in the chat room right now. And did his uncle die from a robbery gone wrong? Yeah. Obviously but that's Peter Parker's, not Peter's Parker's. Why he made them both plural? I don't know. He's not Spider Man. He's definitely not Spider Man. I can tell you that he is not Spider Man. Man, crank up the AC, will you? Thank you. Um, but so we'll find out about him, and the co-host. I'm co-hostless today, so if anybody is out there and wants to jump in, be happy to have you as long as I know you. kind of fucking show are you running over there? It's a show where guest hosts don't show up. Now tomorrow, I've known all along that there's a good chance, or some chance, that my guest host won't be here tomorrow. But I'm hoping. I haven't tried to get anybody else because I'm and I believe we're at 90% sure that tomorrow's guest co-host will be just Paul. Might fall through though. She's got, when you're an in-demand actor, things happen. You get calls for commercials and stuff, and so she might have something better to do than this. Believe it or not, something better to do than this tomorrow morning. Now, as highly unlikely as that seems, it's always a possibility that people can find things better to do than this. Like, it's just unimaginable, but there it is. Whoo. Well, Kevin says needing pants is a large turn off to co-hosting. You don't need pants. All you need is a shot from waist up. I'm not wearing pants. Uh, so no, that's not a prerequisite. You do not need to even own a pair of pants to be a co-host on this show. Lot going on today in the world. Now, Jeffrey Epstein, when he got killed, I mean, almost everybody when he got killed. Now, officially, it's a suicide, but I just said when he got killed, and I didn't even think about it. Most people doesn't. You don't have to be a fucking genius to figure it out. Most people know instinctively that was murder. Uh, too many unusual circumstances. Besides the fact that he was about to rat out everybody on the fucking planet who's got money and power for being a fucking pedophile perv, and then he ends up dead. Um, but all the other unusual exceptions, no guards around, guards on their break, cameras down, all that kind of crap. Um, he was already on suicide watch, and that he just seems to be able to commit suicide. No, 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 no. It just doesn't add up. But the brazenness to be able to kill somebody knowing that you don't have to be fucking Columbo to figure out who that it was murder. That's unusual. I mean, in the past, and I want to say back in the day, again, sound like an old fucker that I am. People at least put in a little effort to make a crime not seem like a crime, or try to get away with it. Try. And they have, obviously, they've gotten away with the Epstein thing, but to try to make it look less obvious than, the nose on your face. Why the fuck am I talking about Epstein now? Because the Ivana Trump thing has got me. Ivana Trump supposedly falling down a flight of stairs, and then the more details come out about it, the less I think. How could it be a fucking accident? Now, I don't know if you know this. Well, let me go back. Okay, so I think this is what most people know. Most people know that that Donald and her three children were set to testify in fraud case in New York. Not testify, give a deposition in their fraud case that they've been resisting for several years now, not wanting to do it. And they ran out of reasons to not do it. And it turns out Ivana was calling Trump on January 6th, and turns out that she was still consulting with him a lot, even while he was through his presidency, or phony presidency, and calling him. She called him on January 6th, supposedly. Now, I don't have proof of that. There's articles that have been written about it and claiming this. We'll see where that goes. We'll see if there's any proof of this. But claiming that she called him, uh, crying, asking him to call these people off. You're ruining your legacy. You're ruining the country. What all? She was asking him to call off the insurrection, and he hung up on her. And so they were talk that in the articles that I read, it came from a place called the American Post, and it's not in any mainstream media, which is questionable in itself. I mean, nobody else that I know of has run the story, so you got to take it all with a grain of salt. But in the American Post article, it says that the January 6th committee was interested in talking to her night before Trump's uh, supposed to be deposed in New York City. She dies at the bottom of a staircase with really no injuries, which is interesting. The coroner ruled blunt force trauma to the torso, but no broken bones, no fractured skull, no no bruises, no damage. Fell down the stairs. Now, what makes it really suspicious is that she was holding a cup of coffee that didn't spill until the bottom of the stairs. You're falling down the stairs with a cup of coffee, blunt force trauma, and don't spill a drop until you get to the bottom. That's a little fucking odd. I couldn't do that if I tried. Now, turns out, hold on, let me see if I can pull this up because I want to get his name. Yesterday, her she had a boyfriend. Uh, Dan Fernandez, is that his name? No, no. Hold on, hold on. Let me look at boyfriend. Uh, her ex-husband, fourth husband, Rosano Rubicandi, died, 49 years old. Italian actor Rosano Rubicandi, Ivana Trump's fourth husband, died Friday, not yesterday. The year-long battle with melanoma. Okay. He's 49 years old. Died the day that, like, within hours after she's found out the bottom of the stairs. Does that seem odd? Okay, he had cancer. Yeah. But to die within hours of her falling to her death, uh, it's just it seems, and not to go too far out on a limb here, but the coincidences. Trump gets out of testifying because he's supposedly in mourning. Meanwhile, he's adding a donation button, Mr. Self-Funded, a donation button to the only public statement he's made about her death. And he gets out of being deposed because he's in mourning. His ex-wife that he obviously doesn't give enough of a fuck about to actually uh, be in mourning, because what he did was go on the campaign trail. He went on, he's not officially on the campaign, went on the rally trail. The I don't know, the Hitler Youth rally, the MAGA QAnon pep rallies. He went on a couple of those the very next day while he should have been being deposed. Just feels Epsteinish to me. It just feels like, wow, there's too many fucking coincidences and too many things that don't add up. Falling down a fucking flight of stairs, no cracked skull, no broken bones, no evidence of real bruises and damage. You fall down a flight of stairs to die, you would expect some kind of fucking You injuries, blunt force trauma. What the fuck does that mean? Blunt force. Somebody hit her with something? No, she fell and she hit what? Her torso? And that killed her? And she didn't spill the coffee? She got to the bottom? Just seems so fucking weird for me, man. Uh, so, somebody had suggested, man, I'm feeling a little sluggish here. Got to get some more coffee in me. Somebody had suggested, with all the conspiracy that Trump is probably behind it, that it was meant to send a message. It's fucking because Trump is a fucking he's a mafia don, no doubt about it. But meant to send a message to Ivanka and Jared. That's pretty heavy shit. Don't tell the truth in your deposition. Look what happened to mommy. Whoa, that's some fucking crazy shit to think about, isn't it? Not so crazy. Not so crazy. If you look at the history of Trump and all the listen, either he's definitely has Satan as a guardian angel watching out for him, guardian black angel watching out for him, or every fucking time it seems like he's about to be indicted for something, and this is going back 40 years now. People end up dead. Epstein could have named Trump. We know how good friends they were. We know they shared their love of underage girls. Donald even said that. We have plenty of evidence of them partying together. So Epstein might have had something to say. But we go down to the CEOs of Trump Plaza, Trump Taj Mahal, all those guys dying right before they were supposed to be indicted. And just like a long history of that. And if you look at Trump's upbringing and his mentorship from Roy Cohn and Roy Cohn's undeniable questions, affiliation with that kind of behavior, ties to that kind of behavior. It all looks like, and no attempt. It looks like a poorly scripted mafia hit with no attempt to even try to fool anybody. Yeah, I killed her. The fuck. Now, now. Now, and he's kind of sugarcoated it a little bit. I'm talking about Merrick Garland. And Merrick Garland, well, let's start with Bill Barr, who was Attorney General under Trump, who did not want to risk Trump being indicted in a political year, in an election year, and went out of his way to make it DOJ policy not to investigate or indict during um, an election year, as long as he claimed he was running for office. Now, and Merrick Garland, in a memo of May 22nd of this year, echoed that, doubled down on it. Not going to indict or even investigate during an election year. What that means, and I'm sure it won't apply to you or me. What that means, what the DOJ, now one a Republican, one a Democrat, two attorney generals have said, you can commit any crime. Treason is the highest crime you can commit. And if you can get away with that, you can get away with anything. You can commit any crime in America so long as you are running for president. Think about that. Now, okay, again, I come back to the point that it won't apply to you or I. It won't. It just won't happen. But it would be interesting to see somebody about to get indicted for something and just say, you know what, I'm running for president. All hands off. Yeah, why not? Why not? If you're about to get indicted for a major crime, why not just declare your president, your candidacy for president of the United States, and see how that flies? Test that. Test that the DOJ department precedent that has been set again by a Republican and a Democrat. Sure feels like Garland is part of Q MAGA or something, or just once. Now, yesterday, Garland came out and kind of backpedaled just a little bit by saying he did not say he's going to indict Trump. He said a former president, can be indicted, and that they don't do their investigations in public, and people have to be patient. Blabbity, blabbity, blabbity. Fuck. In other words, have patience until the midterm elections are over, and we'll see what happens then. And we will see what happens then. And my prediction is that we will see nothing happens then, because I do feel like this guy has got every kind of fucking get out of trouble, get out, if he did get indicted at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if jurors on a trial just ended up fucking dying, getting threatened. Now we know, and yeah, fucking, I don't care. It's Thursday morning. I don't have a co-host. I'm just fucking going out all out on the fucking Trump shit for right now. I don't care. We know that last week he called election officials in Minnesota, still trying to get them to decertify the election of 2022. He's still on it. This shit is not going away. Now, some people floated the idea that maybe Biden should pardon him. That's Susan Collins 2.9 or whatever, 5.1, whatever it is, the newest version of Susan Collins. I think he learned his lesson. No, he didn't learn his lesson. His plan has been, will always be, to pronounce himself king. That's what Donald Trump is all about. He's all about himself. He's a fucking deluded narcissist. And I am sorry. I know this is losing me some friends. There are people I know who are lifelong friends who drank the Kool-Aid. It's time, and I don't. You know what? I don't. I don't want to tell the Republican people what to do, but it's time to fucking cut bait, and let this guy fall. I mean, how far? How far are we going to take this? Till he actually starts whacking jurors when he's indicted? If he's indicted, probably won't be indicted. But how far are we going to take? We're going to let him pronounce himself king? Uh, you know, and who are you aligning yourselves with? Who are his core base of followers? Take a look. If you're standing in line and the people in front of you are Nazis and the people behind you are the KKK, maybe you're in the wrong fucking line. And if you don't feel like you're in the wrong line, why? His core followers are the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, KKK, American Nazi movement, and you. Are you really gonna just stand there in line with those fucking people? Oh, there's good people and bad people on both sides. No, 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 no. I'm sorry. There is no equivalent to all that hate on the other side. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to inform you. Um, oh well, the KKK was started by the Democrats. Yeah, in 1865, but there was a switch around somewhere around 1920ish, where the KKK abandoned the Democratic Party and went to the other side. You can't just ignore that. Oh, Democrats or the KKK, they're one and the same. They were one and the same 150 years ago, 160 years ago. And I don't I don't want to sound like I am a cheerleader for the Democratic Party because I'm anything uh, but it's time to fucking cut bait with the fucking Nazis. Kevin's telling me go off on Rogan and the homeless thing. I think I did that yesterday. Um, I did it a little bit last night because I had an author on, Mac Little, and she got a we somehow the conversation went to because we were talking about her novel. I'm all over the fucking place, aren't I? I'm like a rambling ninny here. Um, Mac Little has a novel, Daughter of Hades. Hades is a pirate ship, fictional pirate ship. It's historical fiction, but it's about slaves, African slaves who escaped the slave ship and got on a pirate ship. And there's this erotic romance. Some of there are lots of different angles to the whole story. But we were talking about slavery and slave owners and people who seem to be pure evil. I brought up the Hitler example. Of course, I had Trump in the back of my mind when I'm thinking of this. But if people can people be born evil? And we were coming back to the idea of compassion and that no baby is born evil. You have to you don't while you don't forgive the crimes they committed, you can have compassion for them as human beings and understand that the babies that were born were not Hitler was not born evil. At least I doubt he was. Shit happened to him that made him evil in his life. And so I try to apply that same kind of thinking to Trump. But the idea of compassion, not forgiveness for the crimes, but compassion for whatever and empathy that we could be made evil too. You and I could be made evil just in the same vein. So that idea of compassion came in, and then I started talking about the Rogan thing. Rogan has been irresponsible for a long time with his words, and it doesn't shock me that he can continue to be irresponsible or think of himself as untouchable. When you have $100 million contract, it's hard to imagine that you could be homeless. It's hard to imagine that that could be you. And when you can't imagine that that could be you, there is no compassion. There is no forgiveness. There is none of that. So it doesn't surprise me that Rogan has lost his ability to be empathetic. But here's the part that really they see. I'm talking about the entitled people, the people, the very wealthy. They see the homeless as people to blame for being an inconvenience on their otherwise perfect lives. To the point where, okay, now the comment that Rogan made, if you don't know, and you didn't join me yesterday, uh, no, I didn't do edibles again. Uh, this lack of sleep explains these Spanish and trying to keep these thoughts in line is not always a difficult thing. Oh, not always an easy thing. It can be a difficult thing. um, what he said was, first of all, he was upset that there were porta potties on the street because, God forbid, the homeless people should have a place to relieve themselves that's not on the street. Now that's a major inconvenience for Rogan to see porta potties on the street. He doesn't live in LA, by the way. He complained about this in LA. This is in LA, not North. Complaining that they homeless people have porta potties, and then he was outraged that one homeless person living on a sidewalk had brought a dresser from the place they were evicted from. A dresser. How dare they? How dare you try to retain some of your life and take that with you when you lose your home? Literally outraged by this. And then Segura brings up that in California, that's considered protected property. And Rogan's like, well, it should be. He's thinking, meaning the sidewalk. No, Segura's talking about the dresser. And when Rogan realizes that, then he becomes outraged at that. That's ridiculous. You mean we can't just come and take that dresser from a homeless person? That's just stupid. Really? They just lost everything they have, their home, everything. They managed to take this one fucking dresser, or maybe a change of clothes, maybe some photographs, all that remains of their life. And you feel like because you're a fucking elitist, that you should have the right to just go take that from them. And it's an outrage that the government doesn't let you do that. These people that want to piss in porta potties and shit in porta potties and have a dresser. So, Rogan's next comment was, maybe we should just shoot them. That would deal with the homeless people. Now, obviously, he said it with a smirk on his face. Obviously, a bad joke. This is people talk about Rogan being a top comedian, and he talks about himself being a top comedian. That's the funniest thing you can fucking say. Give it up, man. That's and I'm not against dark humor, but there's nothing funny in that. And that's typical of his fucking comedy. Nothing, laugh. Even Segura didn't even think of it as a ha 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 moment. Segura's reply was more troubling. I like your thinking. In other words, I don't want to, paint everybody but in other words, these people are a real fucking problem for my perfect life. Why should I even have to look at these fucking people? It's such a fucking inconvenience to my multi-million-dollar easy life to have, like, homeless. They're homeless to fuck your life up because your life would be perfect if they weren't there. We have a homelessness problem in America. And instead of talking about real solutions, we're talking about shooting people. No empathy. Instead of asking, why is our fucking system, and I'm a capitalist at heart, but capitalism can run amok if unchecked, and it's been completely unchecked and unbalanced since 1945, I will say. Unchecked, unbalanced capitalism run amok. And so what we see, or it's becoming more and more since 1945, more and more unchecked and unbalanced, and to the point where we are now, where it's just billionaires running the world, and of course, poor people are a major inconvenience to them. Fucking sad. It's sad. So instead of fixing the problems and having some compassion for people, offering a hand up, now there are some people. And God, nobody knows this better than myself and my wife. There are some people you cannot give a hand up to because they don't know how to take a hand up, and they're not ready for a hand up. There has to be a way of dealing with that is not too coddling to just say, "Here's money, here's a place. We know you'll be all right now." But a large percentage of people, we're talking about vets, we're talking about hardworking people had things go wrong in their life. People lost their home for lots of different reasons. Lost their job, lost their house to an act of nature, something. People people can fall. And when they fall, you just can't abandon them and say, "Well, that's it. That's your life now." And we have a severe drug problem on the streets and the cheap drugs. There's a lot that we need to deal with, but seeing it as an inconvenience to yourself, like this, it's so self-centered, so egotistical, so lacking in empathy, lacking in humanity, that it boggles my mind that anybody can remain a fan of people like that. Now, I like to think Segura was just unable to be critical of his friend. You get too close to somebody, and I understand microphones are on and conversations are happening and people aren't always thinking about what they're saying. But if my friend said that, let's just shoot the homeless people, I know I would be able to say, dude, did you even just think about what just came out of your fucking mouth? Do you really, do you think about that? And I would stop. And this is me. I would not hold back from being open and honest with a friend. How ridiculous what you just said was. Sakura's comeback was to be supportive of that. I like your thinking. I like your thinking. We should go shoot the fucking homeless. What a fucking clusterfuck. So if you're still fan of Joe Rogan, it's time to look into your own heart. Now, I got to read some of Kevin's got a lot to say in the chat room. He seemed, good morning, Christina. Not a lot of action in the chat room today. We do have quite a few people listening and watching, but I can't stand Jordan Peterson, but saw a video of him saying Trump ruined his brand as ultimate winner by claiming the election was stolen. Really? I got to find Jordan Peterson saying that. I am not a fan of Jordan Peterson either. Jordan Peterson is a really he's an example of what happens when somebody gets famous and they're not ready for it. They get uh, all that attention on them and his ego ran away with just completely blew up, and he thinks he has the answers to everything. But if he actually said that, I would be, well, you know what? Even a blind squirrel finds a fucking acorn once in a while. That's what I would chalk that up to. But I would have to agree with him. But no, I wouldn't have to agree with him completely on that. The more I think about it, Trump did not ruin his brand as the ultimate winner because he never had that brand as ultimate winner. He claims to have that brand as an ultimate winner, but everything I've known him ever to do has been a failure, except the well, two things: the Plaza Hotel and the ice rink in Central Park. Both of those were mob funded, and Daddy was still the CEO of Trump Enterprises at that time. But those are the things. Those are the really only two successes, and running for president. But I'm not even sure he didn't cheat on that. I mean, he cheats on everything else. He cheats in his golf game. He cheats, but every fucking venture he's ever been, from the USFL to Trump Steaks to Trump Airlines to Trump fucking vodka, Trump Magazine, you name it. Everything has been a failure. All his fucking hotels. Where does this brand, this ultimate winner, come from? Um, Remember, he did go broke. He did go completely broke and had to be bailed out by banks several times in his career. I don't. I think so. Jordan Peterson at least acknowledges that uh, claiming the election was stolen was a mistake. Good. At least he sees that light. But to say he ruined his brand as ultimate winner, get a grip, bro. He was never an ultimate winner. Never had that brand. He claimed that brand. It was a lie, like everything else fucking comes out of his mouth. Uh, yeah. I guess this is about Peterson, and supposedly forgetting where you came from. He's told sober stories about growing up poor and all that. Yeah, and he's a he put himself out there as the voice of modern masculinity, but cries at the drop of a hat. I mean, it's not unmasculine to cry. It's not unmasculine to cry, but if you cry every time the wind blows, maybe you're a drama queen. Possible. And I say absolutely is the case with Jordan Peterson. He is a drama queen, a shell of a man. Now listen, I know what that's my best Jordan Peterson impersonation I can do. Anyway, um so I gotta find this video. You could call it Junior a bully. Uh Oh, calling him a junior high bully. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's what he is. Um, anyway, I'm gonna play my spot. I gotta get some fresh coffee, man, and I don't have a guest host here, so I'm rambling until Parker's Paul P. Somebody with two P's in their name, comedian, will be joining me at 10. Maybe again. He was scheduled once before and didn't show up. Apparently was stuck in an airport somewhere, no Wi-Fi, whatever. But well, I guess we should go to mybookie.com and place some bets on whether he's going to show up here at all today. Be interesting to see. Anyway, what do I want to play? I want to play True Fire. True Fire today's broadcast is brought to you by True Fire. Want to learn to play guitar? You want to be better than the guy who was in the chat room asking me to play C major 7 for the last week or so? You want to be better than Jamie's kid on guitar? Well, I got news for you. There's a way you can learn online at your own convenience and learn thoroughly in a structured course that is made right for what you want to learn on guitar. It's called TrueFire, truefire.com. There's a link in the description, and here's what they do.
Over 2 million guitar players worldwide learn, practice, and play with TrueFire. Our learning tools and massive library of video lessons will ignite your technical skills, harmonic knowledge, rhythm playing, and soloing chops. TrueFire's educators are the best in the biz, from Grammy Award winners to world-renowned artists. You'll have access to an unparalleled faculty of over 300 top-notch blues, rock, jazz, country, fingerstyle, and acoustic guitar educators. Using our desktop and mobile apps, you'll work with TrueFire's multi-angle video lessons on any device, anytime, anywhere. Integrated learning tools such as video synced tab and notation, slow-mo, looping, practice jam tracks, and many more handy controls accelerate your learning experience. TrueFire's style-specific learning paths guide you every step of the way. Use our assessment tools to find your starting point, then follow our lesson recommendations and track your progress as you work through your personalized TrueFire study plan. Progress faster with private one-on-one instruction, group lessons, multi-track video jams, live streams, song lessons, student forums, TrueFire's Riff magazine, premium jam tracks, and much, much more. With thousands of 5-star ratings and reviews from amateur and pro players alike, you'll find yourself in good company with the world's most comprehensive guitar learning platform. Grab your guitar and ignite your musicality. Sign up free for an all-access trial today.
Woo! I'm just gonna check the weather report here for here because it's only 82 degrees right now, but we're not getting that high today. Only in the mid 80s. But I tell you, We yesterday got up to like 94 here. Um, and it's been the humidity has been like really, really, and so in the morning, it's not, we're not used to this kind of humidity early in the morning. Yeah, generally takes till noon to start feeling it, but wow, very, very warm. Good weather for going down to the beach. I might go for a swim in the Long Island Sound today. And you know what? I'm My best swimming days are behind me, and I'm not really a sound guy. I've always been an ocean guy. On the South Shore, the ocean is a much better swim. The Sound is filled with rocks. Um, you got to wear kind of beach shoes to go out into the water, and the rocks everywhere, and rocks under the water that you could crash in. It's just a rocky, rocky coastline up here. Not the ultimate for swimming. Prefer the ocean. Kevin asked before. It looks like Kevin is my co-host today, or my invisible co-host. Hello, Kevin. Uh, if I ate edibles last night, no, I did not. But I did go to the dispensary and get some marijuana, medical marijuana. This is what the brand here is, Coal Care, right? It's sativa blend, and I posted this on um, Twitter last night because it says this is an eighth, 3.5 grams, an eighth of an ounce, not a lot. And what it says is 3.5 grams equals 140 doses. 140 doses. Now, even if you break that down as like a hit, a dose is a hit. I don't know how you would do that, how you quantify that in the first place, because a hit could be a bit. I know guys who could fucking hit this whole thing in one shot, put it in a bong, and the whole thing would be gone. I don't know how you break that down. Um, and there's some guy on Twitter, Foster Junkin. I don't know what the fuck where these people come up with these Twitter. I know people say that about me too. You know, how do you come up with Kelp Nate? I didn't. Um, but see, I don't know how people come up with these names. But so it's 20% THC, which is a high level. Now I know out in California, they probably even have the higher than that. In New York, we still don't have recreational dispensaries. We're probably going to have that in the next 6 months or so. But you got to have them. So this is medical marijuana. It's 20%, 140 doses in 3.5 grams. And I shared this on Twitter, and the guy asked me to take a picture of this Fausto Junkin guy, and he starts bad mouthing like, oh, that look. I hope it's better than it looks, and I know you guys get ripped off down there. I don't know what down there kind of suggested he's in Canada or something, because I don't know. Um, if you know New York, Canada is right up on top of us in Montreal. I mean, we're down there, unless he's from Maine or Vermont, or down there. But putting down my weed, which I take exception to. Now I have to say, 10 grams? No, no, not 10 grams. Oh, Christine. Uh, my friend smokes 10 grams of hash. Wow, wow. Gram. Yeah. Anyway, so the question was, did I take edibles last night? I did smoke that stuff, and I have to say, it is a lot better than this other Columbia Care indigo one that I had, and that is 18%. It doesn't say how many doses. Hard as a rock stuff, but this stuff did nothing for me. This stuff did nothing. Oh, does it say how many doses here? Uh, no, it doesn't say how many doses on this one. That's weird. They put it on some. They put like ingredients, like ingredients suggest you're putting shit in there, right? Doesn't it? To me, it would. Anyway, so no, I did not do any edibles last night, but I did get stoned as a fuck. That's the problem. I got very stoned on that stuff. Up late, trying to write some music. Kind of frustrated in the music output right now. I have a bunch of songs I have to do vocals on, and I hate doing vocals. I hate the sound of my own voice, especially in the recording studio. Live is one thing, but when I have to listen back, extremely critical. Can't stand listening to my own voice. So I was up till, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning, um, trying to get a vocal I could live with, and ended up scrapping the whole fucking thing and want to start over again. So that's why I'm probably a little bit tired today. I am looking forward to tonight in a big way. Derek Sheen. Uh, if you're not a fan of Derek Sheen, I would suggest checking out his YouTube channel, checking out his website. First of all, he's a great artist as well as comedian. He's also a bit of a rock star, songwriter, guitar player. But another one of people who are in comedy, making a living at it, making a good living from being a comedian. He's constantly on the road, um, constantly working, and one of the better, it's all subjective, of course, but one of the funniest guys. I mean, he's very, very, very funny and underappreciated. He's not a household name by any means, but he's out there. He opening for Patton Oswalt just about everywhere he goes. And making a career out of it, and needs more recognition than he gets. So I'm excited about that. Peter Parker's Paul P will be with me at or should be with me in about 8 minutes, but with the caveat that he has missed it once before and he might miss it again. I think it's probably a good thing to call my bookie and set up a line on what we've already had. Fat J. I hate saying Fat J. I want to call him by his name, but I don't know his because everything I've known him by, I've seen him perform twice live and follow him on Facebook, and goes by the moniker Fat J. I don't feel comfortable. If he was a friend and he was very big, I wouldn't. I guess I had a friend I called Fat Guy. It just he's comfortable with it, but I'm not. I feel like I'm body shaming a guy who I don't even know, but that's his moniker. Anyway, he was supposed to be the co-host today, but he's off working in Chicago. Um, so he didn't show up. So there's a good chance Peter Parker's Paul P. won't show up again. Also, uh, you know what? It is what it is. Tomorrow, 90%. I'm like a weatherman here. Tomorrow, 90% chance of Jess Paul and Max Dolicelli will be the guest tomorrow. Um, yeah, just call him fat if Jay bothers. I get it. No, Jay bothers me because I always think of joint. Because I think of a smoke a fat J. That's why it bothers me. No, I feel like I'm fat shaming the guy. Anyway, but he calls himself Fat J. So Fat J will probably be a guest co-host sometime during this 5-week period, which I think will probably extend long beyond 5 weeks. I don't think Kiera's coming back. Now I do have a gig with her Saturday. First time I'll see her in a couple of weeks. I don't think she's coming back to the show, and I don't blame her for that. Uh, I don't think I would if I were her. It's got a lot going on, getting up in the mornings, not really paying the bills in any way. And who needs it? So if I were her, I would say especially after not doing it for 2 weeks, she'd probably be like, you know what? I got my life back. So I don't expect her to be back after 5 weeks. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might end up without a co-host. I did get very comfortable in having the co-host, somebody to banter with there, somebody to have to talk to while we wait for the guest. Get through. Um, some of the just to bounce ideas off of, even if those ideas are absurd and flat earthy and biblical. That stuff. I don't know. I don't. I'm sorry. I am a very hateable guy when it comes to that stuff because I don't know. Maybe I'm just the older I get, the more I understand that there are valuable lessons in the book. There are things that you can take away from it that will be positive in your life. But if you're a literalist and take every word in that book um, as if it's actual fact, if it's based in reality, that blows my mind. It's not that I'm judgmental of you. I'm not thinking, and I know the problem is if you're a person of faith and you believe in that stuff, you feel like people who don't are calling you stupid. I think anybody can believe in anything if they, and so I don't think intelligence factors into it because I know a lot of intelligent people who buy into it, very intelligent and schooled and educated people. I don't think you have to. I don't think it's a matter of intelligence. I just think it's a matter of wanting to believe so bad or needing to believe so bad. But come on, man, it's fucking Santa Claus in my view. It's like, didn't you figure out that that's Daddy in a suit by now? Whatever. So and when you feel like prophet, I don't know if you've seen the or listened to the episode where I had Dave the Prophet. Dave the Prophet was a guy who was going to prove the existence of God, and he wanted to use the Bible to do that, ironically enough. But he was on the program, and I know when he left, there was some anger. He felt like I was condescending and calling him stupid. And when you want to get, you feel like you put yourself in the position of missionary to convert people, and they don't, your message is not received. Can be really frustrating. Hey, I'm bringing you the word, the good word of the Lord, and you're not hearing it. And then they get frustrated and get angry and lose their forgiveness and compassion and all the stuff that their message is supposed to contain. So Dave left a little angry at me, a lot angry at me. Uh, and I think that probably fuels Kiera's frustration with the program as well. Because let's face it, you got to read the room. And this room is not all that receptive to Bible study, to say the least. Let's see what Kevin is saying now. Kevin's my co-host today, my invisible co-host. Culture poisons critical thinking. Great. If you're raised in church, no matter how intelligent you are, you learn. Nah, I don't know if I was raised in church, but I definitely had exposure to church, and it didn't infect me. I mean, I never was a fan of church, and the idea of even if you're a believer in the God that they believe in, which is the invisible old man with the big white beard living on a cloud God, it's hard for me to imagine that he needs you to be in a building built by men to go give money to men. Why would the old man in the cloud need me to give money? Go to this building. If he's everywhere, why do I need to go to this building and give money to strangers who are just going to use it and not pay taxes on it and just get rich themselves? Catholic Church is a fucking money machine. Uh, if you brought that nonsense to someone at 45 years old for the first time, 99% would smell a scam. I disagree with that, Kevin. because there are people, and I hear what you're saying, and it makes sense, but there are people who were never exposed to that in their life who became born again later in life, 45, 55, 65, whatever. Plenty of them. The pastor at the local church here, um, he never went to church in his life, was a drug addict, found himself in a car with a bunch of born agains, and they decided to pray for him. And that was the moment he found the Lord. So I don't definitely don't agree that if you brought that nonsense to someone at 45 years old for the first time, 90, you know, well, maybe you're right. I gotta rethink about this because obviously nobody can get through life without knowing the story. So it's not like the story was fresh to him in that moment where people decided to pray for him. So he knew the story. He just finally decided to accept it without ever going to church before. And now he's a pastor. He's got his own flock. And listen, he wears some fancy duds, man. He's doing well with the business of preaching. Let's see. It's 102, an hour and 2 minutes in. Peter Parker's Paul P was supposed to be here 2 minutes ago. Am I sensing a pattern? This is going to be a show of me just talking nonsense like I'm like a fucking pothead for 2 hours. I don't think that's a good show at all. But I can promise you a better show tonight at 8 p.m. If you're so inclined to tune in, then I can promise you one of the best Mind Dog TV programs ever tonight at 8 p.m. when Derek Sheen is my guest. Guess what? Paul P, not Peters Parker's, is here. Now, I want to, he's in the back room and I'm going to bring him in a minute. I want to put something out there it's a trivia question. And if anybody gets it, what will they win? Let's see. They're going to win a Mind Dog TV t-shirt. This is a real deal. I'm going to put this out. The first person who can get this right. Now, there's a poem. Poem? Yeah, I guess it's a poem. It's a thing. It's a tongue twister. It's Peter Purvisell Patterson had a pet pig named Porky. His pet pig named Porky loved pie. He loved pizza pie, pineapple pie, pumpkin pie, and tarts. Peter Purvisell Patterson's pet pig named Porky loved pie so much that he popped. If you can tell me where that came from, you're going to win a Mind Dog TV t-shirt. Peter Purvisell Patterson's pet pig named Porky. Don't Google it. If you Google it, I will know you Googled it, and I will declare you a forfeit and give it up. Now, Peter's Parker's Paul P. Peter Purvisell Patterson, the comic, is in the back. Now, his Facebook page says Peter's Parker's. His name down there says Paul P. Every thing he's listed on as far as show stuff comes up as Paul P. Several comedy clubs have him as a regular comic at their comedy clubs on their websites listed as Paul P. We got to get to the bottom of this Spider-Man thing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in the fabulous and very funny Double P guy. Paul, welcome. Am I calling you Paul? Am I calling you Peters?
No, you're calling me Paul. Paul's perfect. Peters is that's just the alias for work.
Okay, I gotcha. Peters Parker's is Spider-Man, but it was just Peter Parker, right?
Yes.
Peter Parker. Where did all that come from? I mean, was it trying to make people think of Spider-Man? Because everybody calls you Paul that I can see.
Yes. No. So okay, one of my friends back in like 2016, 17, 2017. She's like, she used to call me Peter Parker because I don't know why she used to call me Peter Parker all the time.
He's a fan of Spider-Man.
Definitely. And
okay.
so
now
then I was sure.
You're a very funny comic. I've watched some clips of you. I've only seen you online, never seen you in person. You're a very funny guy, but I have to say, you're a terrible fucking marketer, man.
I am. Thank you. That's the truth. That is the truth. That's the God's honest truth. I am the worst at that. I have to
Yeah.
get better.
If I Google Paul P comic, I will get Paul Provenza up on top, and then there's a lot of weird Paul P comedians out there who are not you. They got other stuff attached to the name, Paul P Sniffy or something like that. I'm like, what the fuck is that? But so anyway, you could use some help with the marketing. But you're a very funny guy, and this is why I think I want to expose you to the audience, because we have a big comedy fan base in this audience, and I think if they get to know you, it's good marketing for you.
I appreciate it. Well, I thank you for having me on. I definitely appreciate that.
Well, it's my pleasure. Now, where are you from? Because I see you've been in Caroline's, you've been in Broadway Comedy Club. I'm thinking New York guy, but now I see, and of course, many comedians travel and get around. But I see you in Indianapolis on August 13th at Fountain Square. Where are you from?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I was born in Brooklyn.
All
Yes.
right, cool.
So thank God my birth certificate says Brooklyn, so it means something. You're not just out there. So born in Brooklyn, but raised in Florida. And I started stand-up in Florida, and then got into Broadway and got into Carolina. So that's where I really started to hone my skill, was in New York. And I moved to New York in 2017, December. And then it was like, I have to get to the grind because it's important.
We were talking about the New York comedy scene yesterday because, people, they think LA, New York, Chicago, those are the places to be. But I don't find, because I follow comedy a lot and I'm always looking for comedy shows that are interesting. I don't find New York scene to be that great. Do you, as far as the comedy scene?
It is. Only because the opportunity to get on stage 4 times in a day, 3 times in a day. If you really want to get good, you want to do it in New York. That opportunity is just, one of one.
That's a good point, to be able to do, go from one place to another and work. Have you done any of those like afternoon shows? Because those I can't imagine myself going to a comedy club at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or something. Have you done those?
Yes, sir, I have. 6 o'clock on Broadway. So it's, but the feeling there, thankfully it's in the basement. So the feeling is still of night. You know what I mean? So
right. It feels like night. I get it. Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. That's why I keep it dark in here, so it feels like night, even though it's bright as day outside. Because I'm a nighttime person who ended up doing a morning show. I don't know. I'm insane. That's why. With that stuff, with the crowds that come in though at 5 o'clock, are they like ready to party? Are they ready to laugh? They bring that energy in at 5 o'clock, or is it a dinner crowd? Like, I'm just here to have a couple of drinks and not really pay that close attention to the comedian.
Sometimes they're there to laugh, but you really got to bring it out of them. Sometimes it's more, sometimes those crowds may have like a kid with them, because it's the middle of the day. But those audiences, you gotta just, I heard Joey Diaz say this this clip my girlfriend sent me. It's motivation. And he's like, you really got to dig into the ground. You got to dig your nails into the ground on the stage and really leave your soul out there. And so with those 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock crowds, you better do that, because comedy at night, they want it. In the afternoon, they may need it and they kind of want it, but you got to give it to them way more. It's not as easy.
Right. Yeah, I get that. And a big part of outside of New York City is a lot of comedians creating their own opportunities and doing shows in places that aren't comedy clubs. And the thing that comes up all the time is bar shows. Have you done bar shows where, cause as a musician, you can be background, right? But as a comedian, you can't be background. You got to. And so, how do you get the attention of people who are there to get drunk or get pussy?
You gotta get loud. You gotta get loud as fuck, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. You gotta get loud. You gotta get out there. You gotta get in their face. You gotta walk around, because if it's a restaurant, you can't just stand there like it's a stage, because we know there's no real stage. Even if there's like a little crate you're standing on, it doesn't count. So you got to get out there, walk not too much into the audience where you're like, a waiter, but you want to get out there and talk to these people, man. You got to engage them. What are you guys doing over here? This is what you're drinking. I wouldn't have drank that. Maybe get a mojito next time. You got to fuck with them. You got to get in their face, man. Because if you don't, they're just going to focus on the food, and then they're going to have table conversation, because those people, they are not there to see comedy. They are not.
I get that. Now, it strikes me as listening to you say that you have to be a certain kind of comic to have any success in that, because if you're the kind of guy who is Stephen Wright, I mean, that's just I'm just trying to think of a guy who's really subdued and really laid back. You can't do that. You can't become something. You can't become loud and aggressive and in your face if that's not your style of comedy. Because Stephen Wright's act, I don't care how loud he gets. If he comes over to your table and does, his one-liners, it'd be like, that really doesn't work. So you have to have, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But,
when with your comedy, what do you what kinds of things do you talk about? Are you talking about life observations? Are you talking about stories? Are you telling jokes?
me, everything. I get on everything. I don't care what it's about. I don't want to offend anybody, but at the same time, I have this saying: in 100 years, you know what I mean? In 100 years, it won't matter. So I'm gonna use, you know what I mean? I'm gonna use this opportunity right here, right now. Because I do go to open mics as well as do shows, because some comics, man, you've been doing it. I've been in it for 7 years, so, but it's like, hey, you shouldn't be doing open mics anymore. And I'm like, to hell with it. I need to touch a microphone. I don't care where it is. I need to touch a microphone. And if you really love it, you have to go out there and do it. So I'll always express my ideas. And even at shows, I'll express my ideas about what's going on, like the shooting. And to answer your question, I didn't finish at the end. I live in Indiana now. So that's the answer to the question from earlier.
Yeah, well, I had a guy on who was from Indiana yesterday, and he's been on a couple of times. But his take on it, on the comedy clubs and he's now he's down by Cincinnati, which is close to Kentucky. But he said, Indiana's a very conservative, very stuffy, not too tolerant state, which I did not know about. Do you find that to be the case or not?
No, they're very tolerant. They want to hear it. Even when you're talking about Trump, they want to hear it. When you're talking about Biden, they really want to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to give it to them. So but everybody's different. So, but I like that they're like, they give you more freedom. I'll be honest with you. They give you more freedom in Indiana than I do get in New York, because when I flew back to New York, I had some shows at Broadway at the end of May, Memorial Day weekend. And some of my material was a little more harsh because it was tuned different to Indiana. So the first show I did, I was like, oh, okay, I have to take the gas, take the pedal off a little bit and just give it to them a little lighter. So you can't take the same route to the same destination.
Wow. Yeah, you got to be able to read the room, right? But a lot of guys, especially younger when they're starting out, that's not the case. They, this is my act. This is what I'm going to do, and only have one thing, and don't have something they don't want to have somewhere else to go when things start going bad. You've been in it 7, 8 years. How long have you been doing it?
7, but I didn't do it from 2002 until till 2020. So from 2020 till not 2002, listen. So from 2020 all the way up until 2022, I took like a break because COVID. So, and I was like, I can't really, clubs will close, and I didn't want to do it online. I didn't find that to be a real.
Sucks, don't it? I don't think it's really hard to do stand-up comedy or but you did do some sketches and stuff, right? You write and film your own stuff. Was that during COVID?
Some of it, yes, sir, absolutely. Some of it was during COVID, but I like to just, it's fun, man. You think of these stupid ideas, and I'm like, man, let's see who likes it, But it's a lot.
I like that stuff. I think your stuff is very good, and I'm gonna, I should put the links to your Facebook page because people can see it there. We need to get you like a website where people can see the stuff. Do you have a YouTube channel or any of this stuff?
I do have a dog and a YouTube channel.
I like that dog.
Thank you. It's an Australian Shepherd, man. Man, he's the best. He's the best. But so yes, I do have a website that I'll reactivate it. It's checkonpaulp.com.
Ah.
But I need a better name than that. I don't like that name. That's why I took it down.
Yeah, well, domain names that's a whole other thing. But you probably get Paul P. dot TV or Paul P. dot
Mm,
something,
yeah,
without the com. But yeah, so I have your Facebook profile and the link scrolling across, and the link is in the description to make it easy for people so they can go there and see some of these skits. Now, those skits are very funny. Is that so? Is your goal long-term picture to continue doing stand-up, or it seems like you're ready for television, writing skits, maybe short films, and maybe eventually movies? Is that your ambition?
absolutely. Long term, but still to do stand up because that freedom of speech is really there. When you get to sometimes talk about stuff that scares people, but you give it to them anyway. But yeah, long term, I would like to get into more sketch than, as you mentioned, television, and more so into movies. But it's day by day. I have to keep that. That's why thankfully with the advent of the internet, it's like you can do it and have people see it, and it keeps you going. And it's like, okay, good, this is good. So it's like just keep putting it out there.
Totally agree, and I think and I'm probably the wrong person to make this judgment because I don't have television. I got rid of television in 2008, so that's 14 years now. I haven't had
Mm,
a traditional television in my house. But I feel like television and movies, both, have run out of energy, run out of new ideas, run out of creativity. They just want to rehash the same old things. So I have an idea for doing a late night show that is a streaming show, but it is different than because network TV, this James Gordon guy, Corden, whatever his name is, the guy who was on after Stephen Colbert, he's leaving. And I know many comedians express, oh, I'll take that job. I'll be right for that job. And I'm like, you know what they're going to do? No matter who they get, they're just going to place him back in that, put him behind a desk, have a guest come out and sit next to him, run bits, and then a musical guest. And it's the same fucking shit that you've been seeing since 1960 or 1955 with the Steve Allen show on the Tonight Show, and without any new ideas. So I thought, well, you know what? How do you fucking shake up the world? You come up with something completely different, free, uncensored. You can say fuck if you want on the air, and nobody's gonna. That the internet has freed us up with this.
yeah.
So the idea of just doing something completely to throw network television on their asses and say this is for younger people, college age people or people in their 20s, to say, wow, this is something different I could get hooked on, and it's interactive and all that kind of stuff. So I have some ideas for that. And if you are open to them, I would love to discuss those with you offline sometime. And because I do love your skits. I think they're very funny, and I think there's a way to maximize that and get you some real exposure with that stuff. But I'm just pitching to you here right in public in
Yeah.
front of people.
No, no, no. Hey, listen, I appreciate someone who's willing and able to say, hey, listen, I can help in this regard, because I know you have to know your weak points, and you have to know, okay, I've got the comedy down. I know I work very hard at that. When it comes to the marketing part, it's like, dude, what are you doing? I know it's bad. I know it's really
Yeah.
bad. So I appreciate
Yeah.
an expert saying, hey, let me help you out here. So I
Th-
appreciate that.
that's all, so much of the business is that marketing stuff. No matter how funny you are, if people don't see you, people aren't exposed to you, it's going to be, it's every fucking club you got to go to. It's you got to sell yourself over and over again. Whereas once your marketing is working for you, your name precedes you. And I think, Rogan, I beat on Rogan too much, but he came out, and people get so tired of hearing me slag on Joe Rogan. But he came out, he was on the Lex Friedman podcast, and he said, there's only a handful of us real comics in the world. And I like, man, that is such a fucking pompous thing to say. You think too highly of yourself, because I interview comedians every day on this program, and I
Mm,
see guys in their first and second year who will make me laugh harder than Joe Rogan ever had. I think that being dismissive of those, and the only difference between him and them, financially wise, is that people know who he is. He had a
yeah.
television show. He's got that exposure. He's got the name that people recognize, and that's it. So marketing plays a huge role in this. Um, so how did you get started? When you first, well, let me take it back before that. When did you know you wanted to be a comedian? Did you know right when you were a kid that this is what you wanted to do with your life?
No, but I'll tell you the first time I made people laugh, that wasn't family. Fourth grade and science class, it's a Monday, and the lady goes, not the lady, but the teacher goes, does anybody here remember what we talked about on Friday? We're reviewing what you use for protection during sex. And I raised my hand, and I'm like, and she calls on me, and she's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Condominium." Everybody laughs, and she's like, "Get out." Um, and I swear to God, I didn't know what a condominium was, but I knew the word, and I was like, "All right, let's see." So, but but I got introduced to comedy. My sister used to watch Comedy Central. She used to watch Comic Views. She used to always watch comedy, and from there, that's when I was like, I can't do this. But then when I got to college, people were like, yo, you should do it. I still wasn't like ready to do it. And then afterwards, I missed one interview in accounting, and I didn't get this job. And I said, if I don't get this job, I'm going to do stand up. And then I didn't get the job. I knew I wouldn't get the job because I knew I wasn't supposed to do that. But then it was like, all right, I'm going to do an open mic, and
Was
I
that in
did.
Florida?
That was in Florida, absolutely. That was in
And
Florida.
so, what is that like? You go into a place and you sign your name on a list and wait for them to call you. You don't know when they're going to call you. You got to sit there and just hopefully. And does everybody even get on?
You want to know what it's like, Matt? You want to know what it's
Yeah,
like?
yeah.
This is what it's like. These people. So I was there 9 p.m. because I'm dedicated. It's August 22nd, 9 p.m. of Friday. I'm there. I put my name on the list like 8:30, 9 p.m. I'm there, right? Put my name on the list. They don't call me up until 12:30. 12:30. I see guys coming after me. They put them up, but I'm like, tonight's my night. I'm starting. And so finally, I get on stage. I look at the ground and look up a couple times, and then I'm like, all right, I'm done. I knew the first one was gonna suck. Let's get it out the way. So from there, I was like, all right, let's keep going. So, but yeah, it wasn't
Wow.
that good. When you don't know anybody in the game, they just
Yeah.
relegate.
I that first time, because my first time doing stand up, I was in middle of the winter, and I went to a comedy club called Konkama Comedy out where it was in Ronkonkoma, New York, and I went there and the parking lot was fucking empty. There was one car there, and I'm thinking I'm not going in this fucking comedy club to do. I'm gonna be performing for a bartender. Is that what this is? I mean, that's basically what I'm thinking, and I sat there for 2 hours waiting for cars to get there, and no cars came in. Finally, I said, I'm just going to go in there. I walked in, and the club was packed. Like there must be a back parking lot or something, or people coming in from the train station. It was packed, and it was like a weeknight, Tuesday, Wednesday night, and I went up, and I now because I sat there so long, I was like running through my act, what I was going to do over and over and over again. Got up on stage and forgot everything.
Oh,
I mean, I had rehearsed it for 2 hours because I had nothing else to do. Got up there, and so it was just a matter of improvising the whole thing. And this is where I want to talk to you about, because I read something online, because this is what I started. I started doing crowd work like I was a professional and had been there, and like I have a right to just pick people out and talk to them, and it did not go well. Uh, but I saw something online that said that we have an epidemic of crowd work in comedy right now. It's like everybody feels like they don't have to prepare any material. All they do is go in and work the crowd. Does that ring a ring of truth with you? Do you feel like that's the case? Do you see a lot of people who just go up there, hey, where you from? And oh, you're married, and you're just talking to the crowd the whole time.
yeah, I see a lot of that, and it's like here's the thing: you can go in with no material, and I'm okay with that. But you go in with no material and you talk what's on your mind. That's one thing. Where you're just painting live, you know what I mean? That's one thing. You want to paint live, that's perfectly fine. Do what you want to do. You're an artist, that's perfectly fine. But you want to go in there and just talk to the audience. That's not comedy. That's not comedy. It's not
Right.
It's not real comedy. Anybody can do that. If you're a funny person, I can go up there and bullshit with the best of them. But
Yeah.
are you telling them a story? You know?
Yeah. No, I do think, I don't know if it's epidemic, but I know a lot of people, and I think you earn the right to do that, but you
Mhm.
can't just go in like I did and think, it's my very first time on stage and think I can just and one of those guys who just pick, I can't be Don Rickles.
No, 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 no. God bless him, man. Rest in peace, Don Rickles, one of the best of the
I
best. You can
I'm
love
too
Simpson.
fucking old, man, for to come up with that reference. I mean, that just points out what a fucking old man I am. Fucking
No,
Don
no.
Rickles.
If you're a student of comedy, you know that reference, and
Yeah,
yeah, I know that reference. Don
yeah.
Rickles, I used to love him on the Tonight Show with Leno. He was always giving it to him.
There's that's a whole other thing. Is there are guys who are great in talk shows and in those venues where they get to be themselves. Not, and I'm not saying Rickles wasn't, but there are guys who are great at that, but not so great at being actually on stage doing their stand up. It's a whole different thing. And I guess you can be great at both, but there are people who shine at one or the other. You can be a great stand up and suck in the interview part of
Mhm.
it where you go and sit down with a guy. It's a whole other I guess skill set of being now, and I think Norm Macdonald figured that out at some point, just to say, what am I going to do? I have to tell stories. This is what people do on talk shows. Well, I got no stories. I'm just going to take an old joke book and make believe that's a story that actually happened to me. And that's what he did with Conan O'Brien, like constantly. He would just pick out an old stupid joke and
Yeah,
actually tell it like it's a story that actually happened to him.
yes. Norm Macdonald, one of the best.
Yeah. So that was 8 years, and you have the date and the time and all that stuff. So obviously, it was a significant moment in your life. So it changed your life. And at that point, did you just decide that this is what I'm going to do with my life? Make it your dream, your life's goal? I guess all that corny kind of talk.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, no, it's not corny. It's the truth, man. Because I asked my father, my late father, long back in like 2015. I said, "Hey, listen, you know, I'm gonna do stand up comedy." And this is an
Mhm.
old Haitian guy, and immigrant. He's like, you gotta walk funny, you gotta talk funny. Everything you do has to be funny. You know what I
Well,
mean? So I was like, I'll take the advice. Yes, sir. I'll take the advice. He just told me that. He said everything you do has to be funny. So,
I had a Haitian friend who I did a magic trick for. I did a card trick for him, and he responded, but he called it voodoo, and he said he was going to turn me into a rat,
no, Jesus.
and he was serious about it too. I guess in Haiti, voodoo was still a real thing. I don't know. He
In
was
Haiti.
a. I'll turn you. Oh, put him on the air.
No,
Um,
no, no. That's
Um, so working now, you mentioned before, 7, 8 years, I still do open mics. I think it's important. I think guys 30 years in, unless you're like Dave Chappelle, and even Chappelle walked into open mics sometimes. I think everybody needs to work, especially when you're working on new material, which makes comedy a very unique art form because no other place in the world do you need to go and try out your new art in front of a live audience. And that's what makes it unique. So I don't think you ever stop doing that, do you?
no. You can't. If you love it, you can't. You can't. You just can't.
And you can't practice it in front of a mirror or your friends, right? That whole. I heard Colin used to do that. When he'd write his material out, he'd try it on his friends and family. That to me, that's a tough thing to do because I mean, doing a rehearsed act for your friends and family just is a weird thing for me. I would never do. What do you think of this?
No, I
Right?
couldn't. I couldn't.
Yeah. Uh, so Indianapolis on August 13th. That's a pretty
Oh,
big show, right? You got like 5 or 6 people on that. Mike Stryker, um, Roberto Garcia, Duncan Kissinger, at the Fountain Square in Indianapolis, Indiana. Um, what's that room like?
it's
Have you been
fun.
there before? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They give you what you give them. So they always it's intimate, very intimate, but they're always paying attention to who's on stage, and they want to laugh. So just give them. It's really like one of those easy nights of comedy where you walk in and you say, and then somebody farted, and then they're like, "Oh my god, they farted! What? Oh, they farted!" You know what I mean? And then they give you everything. And,
Fart jokes and dick jokes, man. If you can't get in with fart jokes and dick jokes, I don't know. That's funny. So Indianapolis. So do you travel around the state of Indiana, or do you get around the state much?
a little bit. I've been down to I'll be going down to Bloomington like next weekend, but really just Indianapolis mainly. So that's for the main part. Only because it's gas prices are too damn high, so I'm not doing it, man. I'm just not.
Yeah. So and the stand-up part of it. So you book stuff or on your own, or you creating your own opportunities, and things outside of comedy clubs, or is there just enough comedy club work in the state of Indiana to keep you going?
No, I book stuff outside. I reached out to some comedy clubs in Chicago so I can get over there and start making a move over there. And I'm going to start reaching out to some in Cincinnati. One of my friends wanted to get me in like a few months ago, and I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not prepared to go and drive 2 hours for a night of comedy. So now I am. Well, not now, but like later on this year I will be. But August I'll be going to the
Wait till
last.
gas prices come down just a little bit more.
I might use D85 to be honest with you, but I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really because there are times I'm just the whole fucking thing with the gas prices have really impacted a lot of people because people don't real. I had a guy on last week. He said he drives 2 hours to get to an open mic he's not getting paid for. That's a tough fucking road to hoe. You can't do that 5 nights a week, and it's a losing proposition. And it puts a lot of damper on your advancing your career, and even to get good gigs, you got to be out there doing the open mics, and sometimes you're not getting paid. The model of comedy is built on is really it always it's amazing to me that comedians put up with what it takes to make it because musicians would never do that. I mean, on my first gig as a musician, I got paid $125 for it in 1974, very first time out. I know comedians. I had a guy on who he said he headlined a bar show for the first time. He got paid $20. I feel like I've made it. Like, well, after 8 years, getting paid $20.
Yeah.
So why do you think? I know this is kind of a heavy question, but why do you think the model is that, and why comedians accept that model more than any other art form that
Well, it's
not getting paid for so long?
because it's an upside down pyramid, and the everything lies on the comedian's back. The whole everything does, but they're the most expendable because there's so many comedians out there. So a lot of comedy clubs will be like, they don't care about you. Ultimately, they care about the bottom line, which is the beverages and how much food they sell. So ultimately, comedians are willing to take it. And if you're not willing to take it, there's somebody else out there who's willing to take it. They may not be as funny as you, but who cares? You know what I mean? We just need them to
Yeah.
host, you know what I mean, for a little bit,
Yeah, I never seen a comedian do what musicians have done to get started in that, and where be prostitute yourself for, because you said it's all about selling drinks and food and stuff. Musicians, when they're first starting out, who want to get paid, they really good at make sure you patronize the bar, tip the bartenders, all constantly doing that stuff. I'll order the wings here. The wings are great. Selling from stage. I never saw a comedian do that in my life, and I not that I would want to see that, but I think if I were starting out, I think that would impress a club owner. They don't now. Oh, this guy's selling my shit. I don't care how fucking funny he is. He's selling my shit. He's making me money. Cash registering and bringing him back. That was
Right.
always the idea behind that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna you I promise to God, I am going to do that tonight. I'm going to do that tonight. I'm not even joking with you. I'm going to do that tonight. If I
Okay.
may, I'm going to do
Oh,
that.
Oh, yeah, that would be I'm curious to see how that would go over, like, "What the fuck? Is this comedy?" 'Cause even, we get that in music too, like, "What the fuck? You are you work in the kitchen here? You're a waiter or you're a fucking musician?" Uh, all that stuff. Any, like, really memorable, I don't wanna say bombs, but nights that where something just went completely haywire and wrong that come to mind?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I love
Yeah.
those nights.
Yeah.
Those nights are great, man. Those nights are great because I always video record every set, and I like to watch them. So Churchill's in Miami, on a hot streak, just every Monday night, tearing it up, tearing it up, tearing it up. And then some nights you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go up there and tear it up. And then that night, I know it was just crickets, man. But I liked it though. I liked it because I kept going, and it felt you don't feel so good. You don't feel so good. You don't feel so good in the moment, but I knew it was like, all right, let's go through it. Let's just get it over with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it, man. Believe me, and I'm superstitious like this. If I got it in my head that if I build it up that this is going to be a great gig tonight, I'm going to be disappointed. If I go into it with nobody's going to be there, it'll be just another night, and then it surprises me, and wow, that was a really great gig. So I got myself trained to think negatively on my way on the drive to a gig. I'm always like thinking it's going to suck, and when I do that, most of the time it doesn't suck. It's a good gig. But one bad gig will send me into a funk. I couldn't this is why I'm not cut out for stand-up comedy. And I think you have to have a special thick skin to be able to back bounce back. Fucking words.
Same thing. Same.
Bounce back from a bad experience like that. I don't. I had a bad gig last Saturday night. I'm still hurting from it emotionally.
It depends because for me, I don't mind those because it's always a gut check. Like, you know what, you're not who you are who you think you are because you got to believe in yourself. But at the same time, it's always good for me to come back down and have that gravity moment of like, all right, sit down somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's it? Do you when you go through that though? When are you? Do you go and think about like writing new material immediately? Do you just get away from it? What is your method of dealing with it? Do you get drunk and high? What I mean, what do you? How do you deal with in the immediate aftermath? What's the fallback?
Watch the tape. I'm like a quarterback. You got to watch the tape. What did I do wrong? What were my mannerisms on stage? Was I looking down too much? You know what I mean? What was I doing? And then it's time to like, all right, let's get to work. Maybe I could shorten this up. Maybe I can rewrite this a little bit better. Maybe I need to lengthen this a little bit more, give them more detail about certain things. But then it's also about, you know what? Maybe it was the crowd. Because sometimes some comedians will be like, it's never the crowd. That's bullshit. Sometimes it's the crowd.
Oh, I can tell you 45 years in the business of entertainment, there definitely are bad crowds at the crowds. And here's the thing that I found out is sometimes you feel like you're bombing. The crowd is not responding. They look like they're half asleep or even dead. And then the show's over, and they come up and say how much they enjoyed it. It was great. Can I get your card? When can we see you again? Where you playing next? It's like, wait a minute, you were fucking sleeping in your chair there. What the fuck is going? Is it me? But there are bad crowds, and there are crowds that are look like they're bad crowds and feel like they're bad crowds. They just don't have the energy that night to give it back to you, but that doesn't mean they don't appreciate it. Have you run across that where you thought you bombed and then people were like, wow, that was fucking hysterical, man. Thank you. I just laughing on the inside.
Yes, yes, yes. That happened at Crackers Comedy Club in May. I came home and I was telling my girlfriend on the ride home, like, listen, this was bad. Tonight was bad, because because typically I'll show her so she can, enjoy the laughs with me. But I'm like, it was bad. It was real bad. And then we get home and I'm watching the tape with her, and she was like, it wasn't bad at all. But it was like I didn't hear them laughing in live time. I didn't hear these people laughing at all. I thought they hated me, but you know what? Turns out it wasn't so bad as I thought it was. But sometimes
Yeah.
they do that to you.
You know what I would do? I would fuck with myself. I put a laugh track on it just so I make me feel better.
No, 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 no. That's rule number one for me. It all has to. I can never do that put the laugh track on my thing. That's
No, I'm
that's
not saying for public for consumption, just for me, so I could
hope for
watch it back.
you.
Beep. Oh yeah, they love that. Oh, oh yeah, they love that. Just so I can get through watching it.
No, no. But you want to feel that pain because it's a beautiful thing when you see yourself not doing it right. It's a good thing.
Pain. Is pain important to comedy? Is it?
Yes, because if you think you're just gonna that's why I love seeing good looking people do bad at comedy because it's like get your good looking ass the fuck out of here. You don't belong here. This isn't your room. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You don't need a hat to look good. Get out of here. You know what I mean? I need a hat. You know what I mean? You can, you know.
Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna come back to Rogan for a second here. I fucking can't. It's like I'm obsessed with the guy, but money, just because he got that $100 million contract, money changes people, right? And I think it does in comedy in a big way. And when you're struggling, because I used to do shows back in the '90s when the internet first came out. I used to do shows from Nobody Beats the Wiz. Being a Brooklyn guy, you had to know Nobody Beats the Wiz, right? The the
Yes, yes,
the
yes,
appliance store
yes,
guys
sir.
used to do comedy at lunchtime. We had a special going on every day at lunchtime. We would bring comedians in, and I would videotape them. And these guys were hungry, and they were really good. And then I saw some of those guys, and their careers took off. And years later, and they became very well off. And the edge was gone. They weren't as funny. I think sometimes that struggling aspect for comedians, it makes them funnier. And I think if you get $100 million contract, all of a sudden that's where you start thinking I'm better than everybody else, and you lose that edge. Yes,
Well,
you don't
again,
know. You haven't had that $100 million
no,
yet.
I have not. But I have seen comedians. I have seen comedians who you see their first special compared to their most recent special, and it's like there's something different there. But I forget, was it Joe Lewis? Which boxer made that quote where it's hard to get out of the bed in the morning at 5 a.m. and go run when you got silk sheets? You know what I mean? So
Wow, I never heard that, but that's absolutely true. I mean, it's hard to get that motivation when things are too easy for you. Um, what about this special thing? Because seeing somebody live is so much different than watching it on TV because the room adds that energy of laughter. Laughter is contagious, especially if you're sitting there with somebody who doesn't share your um, taste in comedy. Like my wife is a big fan of very clean comics, and sometimes if I watch that special from somebody who's just too G-rated, I don't laugh along, and so she's always looking at me for approval. Is it okay to laugh at this? Because she finds that funny, and I think that there's a big part of that where in a comedy club or a theater, people around you are laughing. You lose that inhibition, so you're just completely with the comedian. The idea of specials. Do you think that really shows comedians for who they are? I mean, Richard Pryor. We can go back to that. That was then nothing. That was funny whether you're watching it alone or in a room of. But so many people doing specials now that I think some of them they lose that edge of being live. What's your take on that? Live versus tape, Memorex. Is it Memorex or is it live?
I like live, but the tape specials, it depends. The really good ones, the specials that are really special, they can be taped or live. Like anything, seeing Richard Pryor live or on tape, or even Red Fox listening to his specials, even if you listen to them on your iPod or iPad or whatnot, they're
Yeah.
still really good to listen to.
I listen to Red Fox on vinyl. My father used to have Red Fox, Mom's Mabley, all of records. Flip Wilson, uh,
Yes.
it's classic stuff, man. And vinyl, and you actually had to get up and flip it over and all that kind of stuff. Flip Wilson had a record that he started with just silence. You put the needle on it; it was quiet, and the bit was called "We're recording the silence," uh, and because uh, that way, every time you listen back, it will be different.
No.
You're making up. But classic stuff. I mean, all those vinyl stuff that I grew up on. Now, of course, now it's all been digitized, and you can find that stuff out there. Are you at the point? Because too many. Oh, we got to say goodbye to Govs already. Govs Radio. We are in Govs Radio podcast 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. But we need to say goodbye to them at 10:45 to get ready for the Knock 'em Dead comedy show, which is next up on Govs. We'll still be live on Mind Dog TV. I'm here with Paul P. Stay with us.